Shalom Aleichem Internet. Today is the 26th of October, Yud B'Cheshvan. My name is Rabbi Geisinsky, and it is time to journey into this week's TorahByte. So I want to begin the discussion on this week's Torah portion, Parashat Lecha, by telling you a little bit about a great-grandfather of mine. He lived in the old country, and in the old country people held very strong convictions and beliefs. And my great-grandfather was considered quite the radical. He saw things very differently than the rest of the people in his town. And instead of being quiet and conforming, he was quite open and outspoken and public about his beliefs. And in the beginning, it brought him a whole heap of trouble. But slowly but surely, he managed to persevere and bring over many people to his way of thinking. My great-grandfather's name was Avraham, or as he was originally known, Avram. And yes, of course, the one I'm referring to is our great patriarch, Abraham. Now, Avraham's story is very well known. At the age of 3, he discovers that there isn't a sun god or moon god or river god or mountain god, but rather there is the one God, creator of heaven and earth. And in his belief, he goes and he faces off with not only his family and not only his village, but the entire world. And it wasn't like monotheism versus paganism was a side discussion back then. It was front and center in everybody's life. And Avraham was alone in his belief, facing off again with the entire world. It was worse than being a Yankees fan in Boston. And yet, Avram manages to persevere. And he gets thrown into a fiery furnace and he comes out of it. And he establishes a tent along the way, which thousands of people visit, and he feeds them and he talks to them and engages them in the discussion about the one God, and brings over, as the Rambam says, tens of thousands of people to the belief in one God. And yet, surprisingly, all these stories that I just told you are not in the Torah itself. In fact, if you want to see those stories, you have to go to the Midrash. Rather, the Torah chooses to open up with the first discussion on Avram when he's already 70 years old, with a statement from God to Avram saying, Lech Lecha me artzecha o mi moladetcha o mi beit avicha el haaretz asher areka. Go for yourself from your land, from the land of your birth, from the house of your father, to the land that I will show you. The commentaries tell us that this was number 3 of 10 tests of faith, in which God says, go out and journey, and I'm not going to tell you where you're going to have to trust me. But the reason that the Torah chooses to open up Avram's story with this first request from God is because there's a very important message to each and every one of us. We are all on a journey throughout our lives, similar to Avram, to discover who we really are, what our purpose is, what our potential is. And often in life as we begin, we create this cocoon that is fashioned from that which we are comfortable with, that which we know, that which we were brought up in. And this cocoon is necessary. It helps us develop. But then God turns to Avraham and says, you know what's important? Lech Lecha me artzecha u mi moladetcha u mi beit avicha. In a sense, the port of destination is not that important. I will show it to you. What's important is the ability to step out of the port of departure. Because sometimes in the pursuit of who you really are, you need to leave the cocoon and become the butterfly. You need to take that one small step, but that one small step outside of the box. Or else the cocoon becomes a shell, and you're stuck. That's another way of looking at the words Lech Lecha. Go out, but don't just go out Lecha, to yourself, to the true you, to who you really are. and to take that one small step beyond your comfort zone. But the pasuk, the verse reassures us that when you do that, ve'escha lego gadol va'avarechecha va'gad lashmecha, then you will become great, you will be blessed. This is the true path of greatness, starts with this one small step. And we each can do it, because the Torah talks to each and every one of us. And so that's the challenge we have to see in this week's Torah portion and achieve on a daily basis, on the major journey of life, is to push ourselves one step beyond what till now we were otherwise comfortable with. We have to grow. And so I wish you a Shabbat Shalom, a week of growth, and see you next week for the next installment of the weekly TorahByte.